Hi, this is Usha. Welcome to Rathod Science classes. Today in this lecture, we are going to discuss current affairs of 10th November 2021. In this lecture, we are going to see 8 topics which are very much relevant to our UPSC. So let's get started with our discussion and let us see the topics that we are going to discuss in this lecture. So first topic is about foreign funds for NGOs, that is non-governmental organizations. So why Ministry of Home Affairs tasked to monitor foreign funds for NGOs, ask Supreme Court why not Ministry of Finance. So this is the one important question which mainly asked by Supreme Court to government. So we need to see what will be the answer that will be given by government. So as of now we need to know about what is this FCRA, Foreign Contribution Regulation Act, and we need to know about what are the important provisions of recent bill. So that will be important from polity, which mainly comes under GS paper 2. And next topic is about UK includes Covaxin to its list of vaccine. So if you are following current affairs from last 1 month, we discussed about UK which did not included this Covaxin in their list, and whenever any person who took this Covaxin and whenever that person who went to this UK means he need to follow he need to go for quarantine and he need to take some again RT-PCR test there. So now UK included this Covaxin because Covaxin got emergency listing under WHO recently. So because of that, this step which is taken by UK. So if you are following this current affairs from the last 1 month, you will be know about what are the developments that is happening in that. So in that way, current affairs will be very clear. And next topic is about monitoring Chinese assets in Indian Ocean. So as you all know that Goa Maritime Conclave which is happening. So in that conclave, naval head mainly interviewed and he gave some key information regarding this monitoring of Chinese assets. So this will be important from our defense, which mainly comes under our GS paper 3. And next topic is about Padma Vibhushan goes to Balasubramaniam. Okay, he died recently due to this COVID-19 complications. So here why I'm discussing this topic, because this year in 2021 one question regarding this Padma Awards which came here. So Padma Awards is nothing but civilian awards. So this topic will become important from your awards, not only from UPSC but even for your state public service examinations as well. And next topic is about India-Pakistan to hold parallel meets on Afghanistan. So here this article is very important from our international relations, which mainly comes under our GS paper 2. So we are going to see that. So one homework for you people is please open your atlas and see some important points or important geographical locations in Afghanistan. So already I separately recorded one video regarding this Afghanistan map pointing. So there is that video which is present in map pointing separate playlist is there. So please visit that playlist and you can watch those videos such that you can get some important key points or mapping points or mapping techniques in our Afghanistan that will be important from your prelims. And next topic is about India needs to sign up for life course immunization. So here this article which gave an important insights into immunization programs in our country, and those immunization, that is vaccines which are mainly focused on children, not on adults. So this article mainly focused that why it is important to include adults also, and it gave what can be done. So this will be very important from your health point of view, which mainly comes under our GS paper 2. And next topic is about caught in the sea in the crossfire. So this article mainly talking about fishing issue between India and Pakistan. We discussed some brief background in our yesterday's lecture, and now we are going to discuss that article in a very great detail with a great analysis. So this article will be important from our international relations, which mainly comes under GS paper 2. So these are the topics that we are going to discuss in this lecture. So now let us try to see first article. Title says why Ministry of Home Affairs tasked to monitor foreign funds for NGOs. As you all know about NGOs, you might have studied about these NGOs in your governance topic, right? So there is separate topic, that is NGOs in your governance, that you have to cover. So in that governance mostly that will cover current affairs. So here you need to add about this Foreign Contribution Regulation Act, that is FCRA in simple. So here you need to know about what are these NGOs, what are the functions of NGOs, so how they are important in our governance process. So what is the role which mainly played by NGOs? There are many NGOs which will be releasing number of indices also. So let me know which are the NGOs which are releasing different indices. So that will be also a part of our static syllabus, right? So now let us try to see this topic in a very great detail. So this topic will be important from your means actually. That will comes under our GS paper 2. So if you're talking about context, why it is in news. So our Supreme Court, our Honorable Supreme Court, which asked government, our Supreme Court asked government why Ministry of Home Affairs, that is why Ministry of Home Affairs being tasked to keep an eye on inflow of foreign funds. So if you're talking about foreign funds, it is nothing but a finance, right? So why finance which is given under this Ministry of Home Affairs but not why under this Ministry of Finance? Okay, so this is the question which mainly asked by Supreme Court to government. So because of this is a news. And now let us try to see some important details. If you see details, it mainly says that why has the whole operation been bought under this Ministry of Home Affairs, and why it is not given? Because this foreign funds which comes under finance, right? So why these finance it is not given under this Ministry of Finance, but why it is given under Ministry of Home Affairs? So this is the first important question. And this question was posed during hearing of petitions which are mainly challenging the amendments to foreign contribution regulation law in 2020. So in 2020 what happened? So government came up with some amendments to this foreign contribution regulation act. So that is FCRA in 2020 government came with some amendment. So these amendments mainly challenged in Supreme Court. Okay, so these are the amendments which are mainly challenged in Supreme Court. So while hearing or regarding petitions of that, the Supreme Court asked this question to government, and petitions mainly argued that amendments are severely restricting the use of foreign funds by these NGOs, and what are the activities which are mainly doing by these NGOs. Okay, so this is the one important thing which mainly posed, or which is the one of the important cause of concern by these NGOs. So because of these amendments which came up by this government in 2020, so that mainly severely affecting the usage of foreign funds by these NGOs for their activities. So in this context, IB Intelligence Bureau inputs, they showed that foreign funds entering India, they are mainly used for funding activities. So those activities which are mainly destabilizing national peace and national security. So whenever foreigners who are giving some foreign funds to these NGOs, so whenever NGOs are getting funds from this foreigners or foreign countries, so these mainly altering national peace and security. So this is the thing which mainly said by Intelligence Bureau. So what are those activities? Let us try to discuss. So first one here is IB says that those funds are mainly used for training of Naxals. So this is the first important thing. And next one is, so whenever there is training of Naxals is happening in the country, so this is an element of national security, and as well as it is mainly related to integrity of India as well. So it is mainly threatening integrity and as well as national security of the country. So these are some important reasons which are mainly said by this Intelligence Bureau. Now let us try to talk about some facts regarding what is this FCRA. So FCRA stands for Foreign Contribution Regulation Act. So when we came up with this act, we need to know that. So before that, if you're talking about amendments regarding this FCRA 2020, so these amendments which are mainly came up in last year. Okay, and due to this amendment, it made these NGOs compulsorily to open a bank account in SBI in Delhi. So if they are not opening bank, means they will not get funds. So this is the first thing which mainly said in this amendments. And registered NGOs, they can receive foreign funds, especially only for 5 purposes. First one is for social things, for social welfare, for education, for religious and economic and cultural activities. So only for these 5 purposes, so registration of these NGOs that can be done, and these registration of NGOs, they can get foreign funds only for these 5 purposes, and you have to remember these 5 purposes. And if you're talking about what are the amendments, so what are the provisions of the recent amendments of 2020 for this FCRA? So first one is, it is mainly prohibiting first of all public servants to receive any foreign funding, because if there is any foreign country, for example, let us take foreign country X, let us take foreign country Y is there. So if there is any public servant who is receiving funds from foreign countries, so there will be influence of some changes in the policies, okay, that is mainly seen by this public servant. So if country X, which is like a friendly country means, so here there will be some influence that is seen on this public servant. And if friendly country Y, which is enemy country means, whenever this enemy country which is contributing some funds to this public servant means, so there will be seen like some negative things that is seen in administration. So because of this amendment which is mainly prohibiting, or we can say that this public servant should not take any funds from foreign country. So this is the first important thing. And next one is, so this amendment which also proposes to reduce the use of foreign funds to meet administrative cost of NGOs, and it should not exceed 20%. That means here, for example, they are getting, let us take 100 rupees. So out of this 100 rupees, they should not use more than 20 rupees for administration cost. For example, for getting any infrastructure, for getting any stationery thing, or for electricity, or for rent, everything. So they should not use not more than 20%. Earlier it was 50% they can use, but now it decreases to 20%. So this is second important thing. And this one is, it also seeks to prohibit any transfer of foreign contribution to any association or person. So it is also prohibiting. So if I am getting, for example, if I am having an NGO, I am getting 100 rupees as a fund. So this 100 rupees I should use for the what purpose I am getting fund, but I should not use any money for transferring of this money to any person or any association. And this new amendment which also proposed to make Aadhaar cards are mandatory identification document for all office bearers, directors, and as well as other key functionaries of NGOs or associations which are mainly eligible to receive these foreign donations. Okay, so here Aadhaar card which is mandatory now. So if I have an NGO, and if I have to register my NGO, and if I need to get some foreign funds, so this Aadhaar card, it is mandatory. So Aadhaar card, it is a mandatory identification document for all office bearers or directors and even some other key functionaries of NGOs. And next one is, so these new amendments which mainly allow central government to hold a summary inquiry into direct bodies with FCRA approval, and they should not utilize an unutilized foreign contribution to receive remaining portion of this foreign contribution. So here what this statement says means, so here now it mainly allows central government to hold summary inquiry. So for example, if I am running an NGO, so I need to come up with an inquiry, I need to come up with a sheet that, so how much amount of money I registered and how much amount of money I saved and how much amount of the money which is unleft or unutilized. Okay, and here, so this is the thing which mainly said here. And next one is, there is also limiting the use of these foreign funds for administrative purposes. So because of this, it would mainly impact research and as well as advocacy organizations. So because of this thing mainly, now there are many petitions which are filed by NGOs that, so here this new amendment says that not more than 20% of funds that can be used for administrative purpose. So it will be mainly affecting research and as well as advocacy of organizations. Okay, so this is about this topic and I hope it is very much clear. And now let us try to see next topic. It is about UK. UK includes Covaxin to its list of vaccines. So already we discussed this topic number of times from last 1 month. So now let us try to see in detail regarding this topic. So actually recently you need to recall about this Covaxin. So Covaxin got this WHO emergency use listing. Okay, emergency use listing of WHO we saw on November 3rd. So because of this, now UK came up with one step. UK added this vaccine under their vaccine list. So what will be the advantage? For example, from India, any person who took this Covaxin, okay, he completed his 2 doses of vaccine, that is Covaxin, and if he want to go to UK now, so he can easily go to UK and there will be no travel restrictions and as well as there is no mandatory quarantine will be there, and as well as there is no need of taking RT-PCR test in UK. So this is about this topic. And now let us try to see what is written in this article. So this article will be important from international relations, and even we can connect this topic with health, which mainly comes under our IR, which comes under GS paper 2. So if you see context, it mainly says that starting with November 22, Indian travelers who are fully vaccinated with this Covaxin, they will be able to travel to UK without requirement of mandatory self-isolation, that is mandatory quarantine thing. So this is the thing which mainly said by British High Commissioner. So it will be come into effect from November 22nd onwards. Now let us try to see some important details. So if you see details, it mainly says that the announcement which came soon after, Foreign Secretary of UK said that her country has expanded. So her country has expanded list of recognized vaccines for inbound travel, indicating that Covaxin is a part of revised list. That means UK came up with a revised list, and this revised list, it also included our Covaxin. Okay, so now easily Indian travelers who took Covaxin two doses, they can easily travel to this UK. So if you are talking about some more details, if you are talking about this use listing, WHO European Union listing, as a result of Sinovac and as well as Sinopharm Beijing and Covaxin. So these are the vaccines like Sinovac and Sinopharm, they are from China, and Covaxin from India. They will be added under this list of approved vaccines. Okay, and also it will be very much helpful for people who mainly vaccinated from different countries such as UAE, that is United Arab Emirates, Malaysia and India. So because of this updated travel list. So we are talking about some facts regarding this Covaxin. So Covaxin, it is India's only indigenous vaccine. It is mainly designed and developed in our India. So there is another vaccine, that is Covishield. So Covishield, which is mainly manufacturing, but it is not developed by India. So because of this, we can't say it is the only indigenous COVID-19 vaccine. So COVID-19 indigenously produced and developed vaccine here is Covaxin. And who mainly produces vaccine? That is Bharat Biotech Hyderabad, in collaboration with ICMR, came up with this vaccine. And if you're talking about how this vaccine mainly works, it is inactivated vaccine. Inactivated vaccine means we are taking whole virus particle and we are inactivating it by mainly either we can go for heating, or whether we can go for increasing of pressure, and whether we can use some radiation. And because of all these things, we can inactivate this vaccine. That means even though if you are taking this vaccine, it does not have capability to cause disease. So after inactivating this vaccine, that is mainly used for making of these vaccines. So in this way, it will be not only having spike protein, but entire vaccine or variant that is present. So because of this, the efficacy will be more that compared to that of other vaccines. Right, and now let us try to see next topic. It is about monitoring Chinese assets in Indian Ocean. So this article will be important from our defense point of view, which mainly comes under our GS paper 3. And here we need to focus on this Indian Ocean region and Chinese assets. So why monitoring of Chinese assets in this Indian Ocean, which is in news? Because already you know that there is ongoing Goa Maritime Conclave is happening. So on the sidelines of this summit, or we can say like conclave, so Chief of Naval Staff mainly came up with some interview. Okay, so Hindu came up with exclusive interview with this so-and-so person. And now let us try to see what are the details which are given by that person. So if you see context, it mainly says that, so Chief of Naval Staff, his name is Admiral Karambir Singh. Okay, Karambir Singh said that Indian Navy, it is mainly monitoring on Chinese Navy, okay, Chinese Navy, and as well as its maritime assets deployed in the Indian Ocean region for any activities which are inimical for our interest, which are mainly determining our interest. So here you need to know about a string of pearls. You need to know about string of pearls of China. So China came up with the development of different ports in this innovation. It is looking like a pearl string. So mainly to counter this, India came up with this double hook policy. Okay, double hook policy. So actually I discussed about this double hook policy and as well as this string of pearls policy in a very great detail in our map pointing session. So in our map pointing playlist there is one topic regarding this India China issue also. So you have to watch that, then you can understand what is this double double hook policy and what is the string of pearls policy of China. And this double hook policy, it is India's policy which is made to counter the string of pearls of China. Okay, so if you see some details in exclusive interview of this person, he mainly said that the logistic deals and as well as some foundational agreements, they are mainly signed by India, and these logistical agreements which are mainly helpful for Indian Navy to achieve research and reach and as well as sustenance in this Indian Ocean region. So now let us try to see what are these agreements, what are these foundational agreements. So if you are talking about agreements, so these agreements, they are administrative agreements. Okay, so these are mainly facilitating access to military facilities, and these agreements will be helpful in exchange of information, exchange of fuel, and as well as provision of mutual agreements which are mainly giving some logistic support. So we have number of logistic support with different countries. So because of this logistic support, there will be exchange of information, there will be exchange of fuel, and as well as there are some provisions on mutual agreement. So in this way, that will be helpful for especially simplifying this logistical support, and this will be also helpful for increasing of operational safeguard around. Okay, so these are the important things. And if you're talking about in which countries, with which countries India had this logistical agreement, for example, we have this logistical agreement with Quad countries, for example, France, Singapore, South Korea. And also we came up with this LEMOA, okay, LEMOA, which mainly started in this with USA in 2016. So from 2016 onwards, we came up with logistical agreements with number of countries like Quad countries, France, Singapore, and as well as South Korea. So these are the some important basic facts that you need to remember regarding this topic. And now let us try to see one infographic. So it is about, I can say, to unburden the police. So if you see this image, the police force are mainly taking some rest here. If you see like this, you can see they are taking rest. So what happened, why it is in news? Because recently Tamil Nadu government sanctioned 1 day weekly off. Okay, that is 1 week. In 1 week there will be 1 day off for head constable, such that they will be getting some time especially to take care on their health, and as well as they can spend time with their families. Okay, so this is a important thing that you need to know. And why? Because recently, according to 2019 survey, on average about 80% of workforce, they will working more than 8 hours a day, and even and nearly about 7 out of 10% they also reported that there is high workload. Okay, so because of this high workload and there is no time which is mainly allocated, so they have some impact that is seen on health, that is physical and as well as mental health, mainly to promote good health and as well as to prevent mental health issues. Here Tamil Nadu government came up with this thing, and even many states they have this type of weekly off for this police persons as well. So if we're talking about weekly offs, so the chart which mainly shows that average week of police persons they get in India. Okay, 1 day off they will get in 26. Number of days will be, number of off days for year will be 51. Okay, so these are some important data which is mainly given. So you need to think about whether whenever we are giving weekly off for this police, it is a right option or not. So what is your opinion? Let me know in comment box. Don't forget about this. So you can see this infographic and it is very easy to understand as well. And next topic is about Padma Vibhushan goes to SP Balasubramaniam. So if you see this image, you can see that our president, he is mainly presenting Padma Bhushan, okay, Padma Bhushan to singer Chitra. So Padma Vibhushan is given to this SP Balasubramaniam. Unfortunately, he lost his life due to this COVID-19 related complications recently. So now let us try to see this topic in a very great detail, and this topic will be important from our awards point of view. So if you see context, it mainly says that legendary singer S.P. Balasubramaniam was posthumously honored with this Padma Vibhushan. It is second highest civilian award of the country, and this ceremony which mainly held at Rashtrapati Bhavan. And if you see some details, it mainly says that recently our President of India presented Padma Awards to 119 recipients for the year 2020 at Rashtrapati Bhavan. So out of this 119, there are about 7 Padma Vibhushans, and also 10 Padma Bhushans are there, and next one is 102 Padma Shri Awards. So if you see, these are the awards. So this is Padma Vibhushan, this is Padma Bhushan, and this is Padma Shri. So if you are talking about some facts regarding this Padma Awards, they are mainly announced annually on Republic Day, that is on our 26th January. So this Padma Awards which mainly instituted in year 1954 onwards. Okay. So there is also interruption that is seen during years 1978 and as well as 79 and 1993 to 1997. So for the 2 times there is interruption that is seen in this Padma Awards, and it is one of the highest civil honors of country. And if you are talking about objective, so it mainly seeks to recognize achievements in all fields of activities or disciplines where an element of public service is involved. Okay, so wherever the public service is involving, whenever they are doing some extraordinary things, so they will be recognized and they will be given with these awards. And now let us try to see next topic. It is about India Pakistan to hold parallel meets on Afghanistan. So it is about India and Pakistan, they hold parallel meets on Afghanistan. So here you need to know about some map. So if you see, India, it is located here, and we have Pakistan, and here we have Afghanistan. So Afghanistan, which is a landlocked country, that is not sharing direct sea boundary or water boundary here. So this article will be important from GS paper 2 under international relations. And now let us try to see this topic in a very great detail. So if you see context, it mainly says that New Delhi, okay, that is India, and Islamabad, that is Pakistan, they will hold 2 parallel tracks on Afghanistan this week. And the 2 meetings mainly sharpening the divide between India and Pakistan and their view of each other role in the region. So here what happened, India and Pakistan, they are going to hold parallel meets on Afghanistan, right? So these 2 meetings, they are going to sharpen the divide between India and Pakistan. Because what is the cause of concern? So in yesterday or day before yesterday's lecture, we studied that Pakistan, okay, Pakistan is there. So in Pakistan, we have Pakistan Afghans, okay, Pakistan Afghans, or we can say like Pakistan Talibans. So what was the important aim of this Pakistan Talibans? Mainly to rule entire South Asia, which mainly contains 202 million people under this harsh Islamic law. And these Pak Talibans are very much different when we are comparing to the Afghan Talibans. So this is one cause of concern not only for India but to other countries as well. So if you see some details, it mainly says that National Security Advisor will meet his counterpart from Russia and as well as Iran and also 5 Central Asian countries. So from 5 Central Asian countries, they include Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan and as well as Tajikistan. So these are the 5 Central Asian countries. So with these 5 Central Asian countries and as well as Russia and as well as we can see like 5 Central Asian countries that we discussed. So they will be having some meetings, right? So Pakistan's special envoy on Afghanistan, okay, he will host a meeting of this extended Troika. Okay, so this extended Troika, which is a meeting which is going to be hosted by Pakistan again, and is also made up of Russia, China, US, okay, Russia, China, US and Pakistan. So the meeting make it obvious that the US and other major countries in the region, for example, it includes China, Iran, Russia, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan and Uzbekistan, they perceive their engagement with India and Pakistan on Afghanistan separately. Okay, so this meeting, which is very much important for US and even other major countries, for example China, Iran and as well as Russia, Kazakhstan, because there is threat for many countries from these Talibans. Okay, because already you know that it is Afghanistan which is under control of Taliban now. So Ghani he mainly fled to another country, leaving this Afghanistan. So now Taliban which mainly occupied this Afghanistan, and Afghanistan which is under control of Taliban's now. And Taliban recently came up with the formation of this interim government. And one cause of concern here is the members of this interim government. They are mainly listed under this United Nations terrorist list. So this is one cause of concern. And whenever these terror groups or terrorist peoples, they are mainly present in form of a government here, that may also lead to threat for almost all the countries. So because of this, all countries they need to join together and they need to go for asking anything. Okay, so this is a thing here that we need to know. And because of this here, other countries like Russia, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan, they need to also play an important role. So if you're talking about this Pakistan, which mainly is seen as a necessary interlocutor with Taliban leadership, and Pakistan it is also important for transition points of trade and as well as connectivity from Afghanistan. So India also seeks a powerful force in the region, and this which must engage with the and also kept outside for the difficult conservations and as well as terrorism and even drugs and migrations. So now if you're talking about some of the important issues that we are facing from this Afghanistan, they include, first one is cross-border terrorism and as well as drug trafficking, we discussed that, and even there is some problem regarding migration. So why? Because the people of Afghanistan they want to move out of this Afghanistan mainly to avoid this harsh rule of this Taliban. So even though the people of this Afghanistan, that is Afghans, they sat on the wings of aeroplane, and there are many visuals that mainly shown in a number of television channels such that the people they are falling from the wings of this aeroplane. So you can understand such a tragedy that is mainly there in this Afghanistan. So here NSA meeting in Delhi, which also mainly pictured for India's contributing role in this regional security. And even if it is a bilateral relations with Afghanistan, they are mainly suspended for a moment. And if you're talking about what will be the significance means, so if you're talking about this meet, it will mainly helpful mainly to make all the regional groups, they mainly come to one place and they will be having some tags here. So apart from that, so these countries they will also share concerns on terrorism and as well as extremist ideology and even drugs and as well as refugees, right? So this is the thing which mainly said in this topic, and I hope it is clear. Now let us move on to next topic. Title says India needs to sign up for life course immunization. So this article especially talking about immunization programs in India. So most of this immunization which is mainly focused on children based but not adult based. So what is the impact that we can see after when we are focusing on this immunization of children, and what can be done, and what is the opportunity which may be provided by this COVID-19 that we are going to discuss here. So if you say normally whenever we are talking about vaccines, so one thing which comes into our mind is, so yes, our children should be given vaccines, for example polio vaccine, for example BCG vaccine. So there are wide range of vaccines, for example rotavirus vaccine. So there are number of virus vaccines, or when there are number of vaccines which are mainly they will be given to children, and most of the adults they will not take any vaccines, right? So now in this COVID-19 situation, so most of the vaccines they are mainly given priority for adults rather than children's now. So there is a shifting of perception that is seen here. So now immunization, it is nothing, it is not only related to children but also adults can take this vaccines. So in this COVID-19 situation, which gave an opportunity that which mainly focused on importance of vaccines for adults as well. So this is the thing which mainly discussed here. So now let us try to see this topic in a very great detail. So before this COVID-19 pandemic, most of the people linked this vaccinations with the children only. So only children they need to take vaccination. Okay, but when we start this vaccination throughout the world in 1798, so ever since the first vaccine against the smallpox that came up in year 1798, that had been for a far wider age group including for adults. So at that time in 1798, the vaccine which also given for adults here, but later on after eradication of smallpox, so we came up with this expanded program of immunization across the world in 1970s, and that came up in India in 1978, and they were mainly concerned and they were mainly focused on children itself, not on adults. But if you see here, whenever any children or any adult who are taking this vaccine, that will be helpful mainly to get immunity, that is we can say adaptive immunity. So scientifically the benefit of most vaccine, they are greater if administered at earlier life. So that means at younger age, whenever we are giving those vaccine, means scientifically they are very much good actually. For example, at infants and as well as childhood, we can take infection. But whatever the condition, means if the childhood had been completed, whenever they entered into adolescent age or whenever they become adult also, they can take these vaccines. So the COVID-19 vaccine, they are given some exceptions. So the first vaccines which have been recommended for all adults and children, they are mainly did not given much priority for this COVID-19 vaccines. So even now in India, so we are giving vaccines especially for people who crossed 18 years of age. The importance of the vaccines which are associated to be among the most cost-effective public health interventions, they have been recognized globally. So one thing I want to say here is, to understand the statement, I can say prevention is better than cure. So after getting disease, if you want to go for treatment, means so it will take a lot of amount of money, and as well as it will be wasting of time and waste of your health. So because of this, we can go for prevention rather than cure, right? So vaccines will be helpful for prevention of diseases. So there is a full benefits of vaccines do not reach all the children in all the age group. So because of this, we can see there is wide range of inequalities that is seen across our country regarding this vaccines. So for example, people who had proper awareness regarding these vaccines, so they will take their children to these vaccination centers and they will give vaccinations. And parents' education is important, and as well as family socio-economic status is also very important. So because of all these things, we can see vaccine inequities are present throughout the country. And what is the need for adult vaccination? So after the outbreaks of this Japanese encephalitis, that is JE, Japanese encephalitis, in 2005 to 2006, so in that year, India had conducted mass scale of Japanese encephalitis vaccination in endemic districts. That means wherever these encephalitis which is very much high, so in that area our government came up with this mass vaccination campaigns, and then it included adult age people as well, adult group as well. So then there had been limited use of this swine flu vaccines. Swine flu also attacked, right? So swine flu also, it is one of pandemic that we saw, and this swine flu which mainly attacked in year 2009 to 2010, and regarding that swine flu vaccines, so that reach also very much limited. So other than that, we can say there is a limited, very limited focus on systemic efforts regarding this adult vaccination. So we focused only on Japanese encephalitis and as well as swine flu vaccine. So that is also very small scale. Other than that, there is no proper strategy or there is no proper focus that is mainly made on adult vaccination in India. So if you see some data, it mainly says that the first and only national policy of India, which may be released in 2011, which had no mention of adult vaccination, and the National Technical Advisory Group on Immunization in India. Okay, so the National Technical Advisory Group of Immunization in India, so we came up with a national vaccination policy, and in that policy there is no mention of adult vaccination. It only includes children vaccination. And outside the government, even some professional groups such as Association of Physicians of India and Indian Society of Nephrology, so they release some important guidelines regarding adult vaccination. And these adult vaccination is not a mandatory thing, it is a voluntarily. And even in this vaccination, the private participation is very low. And there is also very limited data on burden of vaccine preventable diseases, especially regarding this adult age group people. So what happened whenever these adults, whenever they do not get vaccines, means so they will be having high vulnerable to diseases which mainly prevented by vaccines. So that is the thing I am trying to say here, right? So if you're talking about some example, there are more deaths regarding pneumonia that is seen in adults rather than children. Children, they will be getting vaccine. So because of this, there is less death that is seen regarding this pneumonia in children, but higher death that is seen in adults. So if you're talking about this COVID-19, which came up with an opportunity, okay, regarding we are focusing on adult vaccination. So this COVID-19 vaccination drive, which mainly drawn some attention to possibilities of adult vaccination which could used easily, okay, and initiatives mainly taken by government regarding awareness. Now it is saying that every household, every people or every person, they should take a vaccine, and mainly talking about educating of public and as well as healthcare providers, and even it is focusing on members of personal associations about currently available vaccines of for adult groups, etc. And next one is this can also help people to make informed choice, and as well as healthcare providers to share information with citizens. And even they are mainly focusing on training programs regarding graduates and postgraduate curricula, mainly to focus on this adult vaccination. And if you're talking about what's the way forward, what can be the steps that can be taken, so first one is we need to mandate this NTAGI to expand adult vaccination. So we need to come up with this adult vaccination policy as well. And next one is here vaccine preventable disease surveillance system and the capacity record that need to be maintained. And we need to collect data and we need to analyze data regarding disease burden and as well as vaccine coverage, etc. And we need to finally focus on analyzing immunization coverage. And next one is we need to focus on capacity on research and academic institutions to conduct some operational research including a cost benefit analysis. We need to come up with some guide evidence, informed decisions, etc. And next one is we need to focus on developing an access drafting for a roadmap such that we can also come up with a national adult vaccination policy and strategy. So this is the way forward, and this is just of this topic. And now let us move on to the next topic. It is about caught in the crossfire. So this article mainly talking about India Pakistan fishermen issue. So this topic will be important from international relations, which mainly comes under our GS paper 2. Already the background which mainly discussed in yesterday's topic, yesterday's lecture. So if you see why it is in news, because if you see context, it mainly says that an Indian fisherman was killed in firing by Pakistan Maritime Security Agencies. So Pakistan Maritime Security Agencies mainly killed, okay, one person mainly killed by this Pakistan Maritime Security Agency. One fisherman from Gujarat mainly killed by this Pakistan Maritime Security Agency. So here this is the first such killings by this Pakistan Maritime Security Agency in last 6 years. Okay, and there are many fishing related conflicts that is present between India and Pakistan, but till now no one person is mainly killed from last 6 years. For first time there is a killing that is seen here. So India also termed this Pakistan's actions as a deplorable and in contraventions to all established international practices and as well as bilateral understanding. So based on this international practices and as well as bilateral understanding, it is not a good act which is mainly came up by Pakistan. So even according to Gujarat government, there are about 345 fishermen from the states. They were lodged in Pakistan jails as on December 2020. And if you see data regarding April 2020, so Pakistan forces, they opened fire on 2 boats off the Gujarat coast, injuring 1 person. And in 2019, there was also sunk by an Indian boat, which 6 of the 7 fishermen on board, they were rescued here. So in 2020, Pakistan forces also came up with open fire on 2 boats of the Gujarat coast. So in this fire that led to injuring of 1 person, and in 2019 1 boat had been sunk, right? So even according to National Fisher Workers Forum, there were about 538 Indian fishermen, they are present in Indian jails, and 74 from Pakistan, they are located in Indian prisons. So the forum mainly calculates that about 1200 Indian fishing vessels, they are in Pakistan custody now. There are about 2000 Indian fishing vessels. So you can imagine how much large number here. So whenever these fishing vessels are present with the Pakistan means, so what will be the livelihood of this fisherman? You have to think about that, people, once again. And next one is, whenever the people, they are mainly arrested and they are kept in the jails, so there will be no consular access also. So consular access, it is also very difficult for people who are in prison, and only 295 out of 558 prisoners in Pakistan, they have their nationality which is verified, not for all. So in 2007, both countries, they formed a joint judicial committees, and these judicial committees mainly contains 4 persons of retired judges from Pakistan and 4 persons from India here, and they mainly going to discuss about what will be the future course of action and how to facilitate the exchange of civilian prisoners here. And this mechanism has default since 2013, and whatever the attempts they mainly tried under this committee, that are mainly not a bear a fruit. That means they didn't get any final conclusion. So civilians among these international borders, because India is not only sharing boundary with Pakistan, but also it is sharing boundary with Afghanistan at this part of my Kashmir and China. Here we have Nepal, here we have Bhutan, here we have Myanmar, and here we have Bangladesh. So with all these countries, India is sharing boundary, and wherever it is sharing, so we have wherever we are having this international borders, so there is some dispute that is happening here. Okay, so now this article mainly says that each fisherman venturing near the India-Sri Lanka maritime border, so they often fall victim through both the countries. So even whenever the fishermen, they are going for catching of fish in Sri Lanka's water, they are also facing the same issue. And many Indian villages, they are among the borders, for example Myanmar and as well as Bangladesh, they also become the threats of conflicts now. So Pakistan, which mainly sponsored terrorism in India or sponsored violence in India. So it is also one concern here, because there was hijack of fishing boat in 2008 to Mumbai. And this one is here because of this type of events, that is mainly having some impact on the poor people or ordinary people. So tragedy is that ordinary people, they could end up in the foreign prison while they are mainly want to earn some livelihood, because already you know that this Gujarat coast, they are not going to get good amount of fish. So because of this, they need to go farther into the deep into the sea. So unintentionally, they are mainly crossing this boundary in territory, a boundary between India and Pakistan, and these Pakistan agencies, they are taking away or they are catching these people and they are kept under prison here. So because of this, we can also take this as a humanitarian crisis, and we need to move forward to resolve this issue. And the both countries, they must avoid some escalation in tensions, and as well as regarding the account on latest incident. Okay, so this is about this topic, and I hope it is clear. And next topic is about some important articles that are mainly seen in news. So they mainly includes demand for portable oxygen cans. So portable oxygen cans means they can be carried easily. Okay, normally cans will be of some tons of weight, so we cannot easily carry them. So whenever we are having a small portable cans of oxygen means we can easily carry those oxygen here from there, such that it will be very useful. And there is increasing demand for this portable oxygen cans in our country. So here you can refer this article. And next one is, there are shades of equality. So what happened, there is reservation, or we can say like, so there is one article regarding Kerala government regarding Muslims. So you have to refer that topic, because that will be very important from your means. So these are some important articles that appeared in today's newspaper. I hope you enjoyed this lecture. Please subscribe to Rathod's IAS and don't forget to like, share and comment my videos. Thank you so much.